Okay, you guys, so in today's video, you're going to see me actually complete a painting traditionally, which isn't something that I've done in a long time, honestly. At this point, I really enjoy completing paintings in Procreate, and so I was just really excited and curious to see what I would do and what I would be able to do in traditional media. And so I went ahead and wanted to take a painting that I had completed traditionally and recreate it in my style now and see what I was able to do. So, if that sounds like something you would enjoy, I'm Rory Fluent. Feel free to call me Rory. If you're new around here, hi, hello, how are you? Feel free to let me know in the comments down below. I like to create dope art content and hopefully curate a chill atmosphere. And if you're not new around here, what is up, my dudes? Let's get into this video. You can kind of see that I jump right into painting. I went ahead and created this sketch like on my own time without filming because I don't know, I just felt like there was a lot of like pressure that I was kind of putting on myself to make this painting good. And so I wanted to start off with a really good sketch. And I mean, when it comes to my traditional stuff, oftentimes I feel like I start with a sketch and then by the time I'm finished with the painting, the sketch was just better than anything that I did with the actual painting, or I guess the paint itself. But in this one, while I will say that there are particularly there's like one otter, the one that's kind of like leaning up towards the fish with his tongue out, that I feel like is lacking a little bit at the end of the video. The rest of them actually turned out pretty good, so I consider that a pretty big win. I decided to really take a moment and just, I don't know, like concentrate a lot on how I was going to approach this painting. It's a small painting. It's smaller than an 8x8. But I don't know, it required a lot of preparedness to make it look the way that I wanted it to, because in Procreate you can always just move around and adjust layers, but that is not obviously the case in traditional media. So I was really thinking about those layers and going, okay, well, it makes the most sense to complete the background, because if I'm using gouache, then I can go ahead and paint over top of the background to complete my otters. I think the only place that kind of majorly failed me in particular was with the fish. I feel like the fish don't stand out as much as I could have gotten in Procreate, because in Procreate you can just go over whatever you want with a really opaque brush. And I do have gouache, but I don't know, something about it wasn't quite as bright and vibrant as I wanted the fish to be. And obviously I'm still kind of figuring out how to create some of those textures and things that I can in Procreate. But I will say this painting turned out really well, particularly because I was focusing on those textures and I kind of just had like a fuck it moment, and I went, okay, well, I really like adding these like circular textures with this pastel brush in Procreate, so why don't I just use my pastels to create that texture? And I kind of just forced myself to figure out how to do that. And it's kind of funny because I'm focusing a lot on this tree in the sort of middle ground before the foreground, and I kind of figure it out, get it down, do what I need to do, and then I don't touch it for like the rest of the video, and it's the only thing that like doesn't change in the video. Like the background's gonna get altered a million times, and the otters, I kind of push and pull with a couple of them, and those bushes in the front, oh my god, I put them through hell. I had no idea what I was doing. But for this particular tree, I guess I just kind of figured it out, and it came to me really quickly and easily, and because of that, it kind of just stayed how you guys are gonna see it after I make the last few brush strokes. I was really enjoying my soft pastels, which you'll definitely be able to tell. I loved the way they were interacting with the gouache and then wetting them and kind of making them sort of smooth and pasty, and then kind of going over that really smooth gouache and pastel background with more pastel that I then don't use the water to blend. It was just a lot of fun, and it was really satisfying and just giving me the textures that I was looking for at the moment for this particular painting anyways. And it's about this point in the video when I start to really get into that push and pull with the background in these stupid fucking bushes. So you guys are going to see me fiddle with that quite a lot, and I just kind of keep taking a step back, letting the paint dry, and then going at it again and kind of trying to figure out what it is that I'm trying to do and trying to accomplish. I almost immediately want to sort of bring those fish back to life and figure out compositionally where they were going, and just kind of looking back at my sketch, I go over the tree with white gouache where the different fish are going to go, so that way I know where they are and can keep track of them and don't lose them. I really wanted to draw these otters like interacting with something, so I went ahead and decided that it would be a bunch of like floating fish, because in my original painting I had this one particular otter who had a fish in his mouth, and I don't know, that kind of just inspired the entirety of this new version of the painting. I really wanted to focus on the otter's expressiveness, and, you know, the one otter smack dab in the middle particularly is reaching up, trying to grab the fish out of the other otter's mouth, and I kind of just thought it would be interesting if they were all sort of interacting with these floating fish. But it definitely proves to be really difficult to get the fish to stand out from the texture of the tree. I was trying to just kind of decide how I wanted to go about making sure that these fish came to life, that you could see them. I mean, I understand that you don't necessarily have to be able to see every little piece of a painting from far away, but at the same time, I did want these elements to stand out and not get lost in the texture of the tree. And I definitely found while I was completing this painting that when in doubt, kind of going in and adding some of those smaller details to really figure out what it is that I needed to focus on. Like, oh, am I done with the fish? Do they just look weird because they need their eyeballs? Or, is there something else going on that I need to figure out how to do? And so I kind of was struggling with that a little bit and just figuring out what it was that was lacking in a particular moment, and just kind of, trying to make sure that my elements were, like the different elements of the painting were contrasting with each other in a way that was successful. And, I was particularly nervous, as I've mentioned, about losing those fish in the process of the texture of the tree and the textures of the background and just everything like that. I felt like I was battling the textures the whole time and trying to figure out what I needed to do to properly make everything contrast with each other so that each element kind of stuck out individually. And again, we return to this background where you will see I will just layer and layer and layer so much fucking paint. But it's okay, because this is about the part in the video where you actually start to see, some of those layers pay off, because the background slowly starts coming together. Particularly with this background, it made a huge difference to kind of take a step back, let the paint dry, and then figure out what I wanted to do from there. I was having a ton of fun adding these circular textures with my pastels, and again, I'm returning to these bushes that will change again and again and again, but the good news is that the background is relatively going to stay as you see it now, because I've got like a couple trees that are a little bit more defined, and then the rest of it is very kind of impressionistic and loose, and I enjoyed that it was a bit simpler than the texture on the trees. It kind of contrasted nicely, which is what I was really, really after. After a certain point, I just started to feel like it was just time to start painting the otters and to see what it was that I was going to be battling with when it came to making them stand out in the way that I want them to and to be the focal point of the piece. I wanted them to definitely be pretty simple because everything else was very busy. There was a lot going on and a lot of texture, and so I was like, as much fun as I had in the sketchbook spread next to this, or the sketchbook page I should say, where I was studying the otters and kind of playing with them, I really wanted to make sure that I was just being mindful of the different textures that I was going to be playing with on the otters, and to make sure that it didn't disrupt or just really clash with what I was doing in the background and middle ground, I guess. I am just so careful and mindful with these strokes, and I try so hard to just make each one consciously and to make the best decision, because it was just like a lot of pressure. And don't worry, I know that I am layering some white in the background, but that's just to lighten it up, because at the moment it felt like everything was still kind of blending together, and I was just trying to figure out how to make each thing, each piece of the painting feel more like an individual part of a whole, rather than everything just kind of smooshing and blending together. And we get there, I think, eventually. On a side note, it is so easy to sit here and look at this process and look at what I'm doing and even look at the final painting and to be like, you know, I feel like it would have ended up better in Procreate. And honestly, I know for a fact that it would have ended up, maybe not better is the right word, but I guess more the way that I wanted it to if I had completed it in Procreate. But my goal with this was to see how I had grown traditionally. And so I really wanted to make a point of completing this painting traditionally. I wanted to force myself to have to resolve some of these issues and problems that I've come up with when it comes to creating traditional work that I like just as much as the work that I do digitally. And in that regard, I was incredibly successful. I mean, these trees, I love them. By the end of the video, I am so happy with the way that the trees in the middle ground turned out and just the texture. And I'm really happy and really stoked with the way that the circular textures that I used with the pastels turned out. I feel like I've been battling how to get that texture for a very long time, and the fact that I was finally able to create it was like, oh my god, it was a huge breakthrough. I kind of had a moment while I was finishing the background where I was like, okay, all right, maybe I'm getting somewhere. Maybe I can actually start trying to push myself traditionally. And I guess that all of that effort I've been putting into my sketchbook spreads lately has really paid off. While it didn't turn out perfect or the way that it would have completely in Procreate, it's pretty damn close, and that is a huge win compared to where I've been in the past trying to even just complete a simple sketch the way I would in Procreate. So I consider that just I don't know, I keep saying a huge win, I guess like a feat. It feels like very rewarding and really cool. As I move on to the otters and sort of fill them out in the painting, it's kind of funny because they take up the least amount of time in the entire painting, even though they were what I was see, and I guess that was just because I was trying to, I don't know, oh my god, now I'm thinking about the fact that I said in a video, a couple videos ago, that I was trying not to say I don't know, and now I'm saying it a million times more than I did with just saying it one time, and now I'm thinking about it. So anyways, whatever, it doesn't matter. Particularly with this painting, I was focusing on a lot more than just, I'm just going to paint some otters. Where the original painting is very standalone and simple, I wanted to show off that I am now able to complete complicated backgrounds in a satisfactory way and make them visually interesting, and they don't have to just be an otter pile sitting alone. They can actually interact with an environment and feel more lively and more expressive. Yeah, I guess I was really focusing on making the painting just feel more expressive. Obviously, I will love to hear what you guys think of this new painting and the old one, and I don't know, just any thoughts that you have. I don't really want to prompt anything. I mean, I'm hopeful that you agree that this painting is at least a better show of my skill now as an artist. It doesn't have to be better in every way, but I definitely think that it is representative of where I am right now, currently in my art journey, and it definitely has a lot more personality. Particularly in the line work for this one, I think is where it started to fall a little flat. I have been using this chunkier 0.8, I believe it is, millimeter. Yeah, millimeter. 0.8 millimeter, Copic, I don't know what they call them. Basically the equivalent of a micron pen, but it's Copic brand, and I don't know, I miss my Tombow brush pens. I keep forgetting every time that I go to the store to just pick them up, and I think this is kind of going to be the nail in the coffin of I need to get those goddamn brush pens, because it's driving me crazy using this really thick ass tip of like this micron pen or whatever. And I think that the line work was a little bit harsh and very like garish in a way that I wasn't a huge fan of, but at the same time I did like the thickness. I felt like the thickness of the lines really ended up helping the otters like stand out. But at the same time, that thickness was at the expense of, I think, a little bit more expression and a little bit more like fluidity in my lines. And also they were just like, it was hella chunky. So when I, for example, like went and inked the otter with the fish in its mouth, I sort of lost some of the fluidity in the neck of that particular otter, and you definitely see it in the otter that is like reaching to grab the fish out of the air. I feel like his entire mouth area just got very cluttered very quickly, and I needed the adaptability of a brush pen, and so I definitely want to get that back because I need it. That isn't to say that I'm definitely not just working pretty small. I am, and that's something that I need to take into consideration when I'm getting like micron pens and things like that, and just inking liners in general, I guess. Because I have this thick ass like 0.8 pen, but I didn't have anything in between. Like the next one that I had was like a 0.05, and I was like, what the hell am I gonna do with this? It's not even gonna show up. So kind of on my list of things to slowly start collecting is a few more brush liners and just also like stiff liners in general. So that way I have a nice variety for smaller paintings and slightly larger paintings. Because if I'm being honest with myself, I've always worked pretty small, and I think it's where I'm most comfortable. So I don't know why I have like such thick liners. So that definitely kind of falls on me and is a failing of me not getting like the liners that I'm most comfortable with before I decided to go ahead and go about this painting. But it's okay, like it's not that it's bad or anything. I just think if you look too closely at the mouth that's open and the tongue coming out of that particular otter, he looks a little strange. And the sketch definitely had a little bit more personality and a little bit more detail. But overall, I am for once actually happy with a traditional painting, and it's been like a year since I've been able to say that, so that is really, really awesome. And like I said, there is sort of like a good thing that came out of the chunky liner, and it's the fact that the otters stand out so much, and I really, really love that about this piece. And I really love the like contrast in the otters being slightly less textured and very sort of minimal in their texture, I guess, compared to the tree and the background and even the bushes. I'm kind of in love with the way that that ended up contrasting. Oh, and at this point in the video, you can see I am doing my lovely tape peel, which I wanted to go ahead and show you guys because I feel like it's a very fun part of every painting video, especially traditional, obviously. And with that, I feel like I'm gonna go ahead and leave you guys off on this one. I know there wasn't like a super strict theme, but I really just wanted to talk about my painting process because my last video was kind of, oh no, it wasn't my last video, it was the video before that, kind of assessing my sketchbook process. And I don't know, I wanted to go ahead and show you guys and also kind of discover for myself my traditional painting process because it's been a really, really long time since I've completed one, and the fact that I actually like the way that this turned out is really, really exciting and encouraging. So you guys are kind of seeing a little comparison of my old painting and my new painting, and I went ahead and I didn't edit it or anything, but I wanted to go ahead and take like a photo and sort of show you guys how this painting looks just kind of from a photo standpoint, so it's not just like in the video, because sometimes the video can pick up on, I don't know, like qualities and things that aren't quite there. And honestly, I would say that the photo's doing the same thing. Like it's not like perfect or a perfect representation of the final piece, but it is a photo of it, I guess. And so with that, I'm gonna go ahead and stop rambling, oh my god, and I'm gonna go ahead and thank all of you guys for staying to the end of this video. If you would like to like, comment, or subscribe and do the YouTube-y things, that would mean a lot. If you don't know what to comment, go ahead and comment algorithm because it helps. And yeah, hopefully I will talk to you in the next one. Bye!